Before I start, I want to ask you to hit subscribe to my channel and share your thoughts in the comments, because what I'm about to tell you is still hard for me to believe. It all started the night of our friend's annual summer party. Emma had been unusually quiet all week, distracted, fidgety, texting when I wasn't around. I kept telling myself I was overthinking it. Work stress, deadlines, nothing more. But then I got a message from her out of the blue. "Don't worry, you'll like tonight's guest." At first I smiled, assuming she meant a friend or a new coworker. But something in the way she typed it, the pause between words, the ellipsis at the end, made a cold knot form in my stomach. The party was in full swing when we arrived. Music thumped lightly through the backyard, laughter echoing off the walls, lights strung across the patio like tiny stars. I was scanning for familiar faces when I saw him, tall, confident, with that easy smile that made my chest tighten in the wrong way. Emma's guest. He shook my hand, and she introduced him casually, as if it were normal. "This is Matt, my friend from work," she said, but the warmth in her eyes, at least what I had once thought was warmth, now felt like a betrayal I couldn't touch. I forced a smile and handed him my seat at the table. A tiny cruel part of me wanted to see how this would play out. Emma's face flickered, surprise, guilt, panic, before she hid it behind a laugh. I kept thinking back to the small signs I'd ignored. The missed calls, the texts she hid too quickly. The way she'd insist she was just meeting a friend, but always seemed tense when I mentioned joining. And now, here he was right in my home like I was invisible. I tried to talk to her later, once we stepped away from the crowd. "Emma, who is he really?" My voice was low, steady, but my hands trembled. Her eyes darted away. "He's just someone I've been talking to." Talking to? Like more than friends. My chest tightened so much I felt it might collapse. I didn't mean for it to happen," she whispered, almost pleading. "It just did. I thought it would stay nothing." I remember the sound of the garden fountain bubbling, the clink of glasses from the party behind us, and how everything felt unbearably loud while I processed her words. The betrayal wasn't explosive. It was quiet, intimate, personal, and it cut deeper than any fight ever could. For the next few days I replayed every moment in my mind. That morning she made coffee for me, smiling like nothing had changed. That weekend we watched the latest episode of our favorite show on the couch, her head resting on my shoulder. Every memory now carried a sting, a hidden meaning I could no longer ignore. I felt like a stranger in my own life, watching my love slip away piece by piece. I wanted to rage, to yell, to demand answers, but I also needed clarity. So I watched. I observed the texts I caught, the calls she'd quickly dismiss, the lingering glances at her phone. The trust one once had, solid, unquestioning, crumbled quietly like sand slipping through my fingers. Eventually, I realized confrontation was inevitable. I asked her to sit with me, away from the noise, and told her I needed honesty. No excuses, no partial truths. And she gave it, trembling, vulnerable, remorseful. "I never wanted to hurt you," she said. I felt something I couldn't explain. I made a mistake." Her voice broke in a way that made me ache. I saw her guilt, her love tangled with regret. But I also saw myself, a man who had loved deeply, trusted completely, and now had to decide what he was willing to forgive. I told her calmly, my voice steadier than I felt, "I can't be part of this anymore. I need to step away to heal, to know that I can trust myself again." It wasn't dramatic. There was no yelling, no slamming doors, just an unbearable quiet, a recognition that some things, once broken, can't be pieced back together the same way. I packed my things, left our shared home, and walked into the night carrying the weight of a love betrayed. But in that silence I found something else. Clarity. Strength. The kind of self-respect that isn't loud or flashy, but steady, quiet, and real. I realized that leaving wasn't weakness. It was proof that I valued myself enough not to settle for someone who could treat love as disposable. I still remember the sting of that summer party, the way laughter and music felt like knives, and how I smiled as I handed him my seat. Not because I was defeated, but because I knew my worth. That night I began rebuilding my life, piece by piece, learning that heartbreak doesn't have to break you entirely. And now, sharing this story with you, I hope it reminds you that recognizing betrayal, feeling it, and acting with self-respect isn't weakness. It's survival. If you've ever experienced something similar, Share your story in the comments. I want to hear it. And if you haven't yet, subscribe to my channel for more real, raw human stories. Because these moments, as painful as they are, remind us who we are and who we deserve to be.